Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear, that's why we're here.
The two of us are your audio, well, three sometimes, are your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields,
we're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get one that we know of, so you better make the most of it.
Yeah!
Engage! Well, Uncle Dan.
Yeah, huh?
Here we are for episode 30-something, and man, do I feel good.
You should feel good. I feel like we've been talking to the people. We're out there. We're engaged.
Yeah.
And we're trying to put on put a little show together for you.
Put on a little show for the people, and hopefully we don't. We were a little bedeviled by technical issues last week, but I'm not in the Yukon anymore. I'm in beautiful Victoria, Canada. So hopefully there's a solid tube of the internet going all the way to America from here. So
that's right. We'll ride it like a damned bull out of hell.
Or pleasantly like a moose. I don't know.
Right. So right, a polite moose of internet. One moose of internet.
Dan, on this show, you're going to take us to the bridge.
Yes, and musical it shall be.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
I loved it.
And then you're going to tell us about some legendary dudes who we may end up meeting at some point. If you're listening, friends, who we're about to talk about, let us know. We'll have you on the show. Yeah.
If you happen to be driving through Iron County of a night, and you meet a man on the road, let us know. So, and all good things come in threes, and then of course, Dan, we're going to introduce a new segment where you tell us all the things you've ever done wrong.
Right, where we just. Well, it worked so well on the God Awful Movies episode that I just did for Thank God I'm Atheist.
That's right.
Me and Frank from Thank God I'm Atheist went on to GAM and did a wonderful spin around making sure that I felt as low as possible.
Oh my God!
And it ended up being so much fun that I think we just we'll just stick with the theme.
Let's all be very kind to Uncle Dan this week, because the Gamcast he did with Noah and Eli and Frank was amazing, and boy, he really left it all on the floor. So enjoy that, but not until after you've enjoyed this week's episode.
Indeed, let's do a show.
Let's do it. Well, my friend, the venerable Uncle Dan.
Indeed, Your Honor.
Well, I've been called that since 9th grade. We're all going to go someplace, right? I mean, we've all got someplace to go, and depending on how you look at the world, you might go someplace good, you might go someplace bad.
Yeah, I'm going. You're going to go. I'm going to go to Toledo, Ohio.
Oh, I hear it's wonderful in July.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
But you're right. Different people go to what we're talking about here is the mythology behind afterlife.
Yes. And where you, from your place of privilege, you believe the land of cloud palaces, etc. You'll be going to, and the eternal either boiling, freezing, or hay forking that people who disagree with you ever so slightly about the spelling in a chapter of the Bible are going to go to. Yeah?
Yeah, there's a lot of that back and forth trying to sort out who's going to go to where or whatnot.
It's like sport teams, right? Yeah, you got your team, you root for them, and you hate the other guys.
Right. If someone shows up in a shirt that's colored other than yours, you beat them up.
Yes.
It's just a known fact. These are just
and you want them to be on fire forever.
Right. Obviously.
Forever.
Well, not necessarily.
Right.
And that's part of why what we're going to be talking about today. Have you heard of Zarathustra, the great Zoroaster, also known as many other things? We're going to be talking about the afterlife of Zoroastrianism.
I have heard of Kenny Rogers Roasters, which sounds similar, but it's not. Is it? Is it very different?
It's very similar in point of fact. I don't know if you ever went to Kenny Rogers Roasters when there was such a thing. It was delicious.
It was amazing. Chicken and like 3 sides. Are you kidding me? Like coleslaw, your potato salad. It was incredible. It was kind of a meat and 3, as they say. Our southern listeners will know what that is. But
here's what I'm going to do. I think we should ditch this whole Zoroaster thing and just go on. We'll just do the Kenny Rogers Roasters segment. We haven't thought this through at all. We needed to be on that from the beginning.
It's going to take a few hours, and so we will punctuate it with the oeuvre of Kenny Rogers' greatest hits in between.
Yeah,
The
sure.
Gambler,
We'll figure it out.
Islands in the Stream. The hits keep coming.
You know why we're going to be able to make this pivot? Because we know when to hold him, and we know when to fold him.
We know when to walk away from a bit.
I was going to say, we don't know maybe that part. That's maybe not the one we know.
We know when to run.
I'm pivoting back.
All right, now that I've got chicken on my mind, what do you want to talk about?
Don't record hungry. This is we need to learn that lesson.
Worst.
We're not doing that right.
All I can think about is Kenny Rogers Roasters.
It really was good. I don't know what they put in those rotisserie chickens, but it was I think crack. They might have sprayed him down with a nice crack.
So good. And just some of his hotness. Anyway, let's talk about this pre-Islamic character, shall we?
Yeah, okay. So Zoroastrianism is a early Persian sort of religion that dates back well before Christianity, well before Islam. If you were in Iran in the BC times and beyond, you were likely a Zoroastrian.
Right.
And maybe we'll cover them at some point.
Yeah, I think
they call themselves.
I think they're fascinating, and we should take once we're done with our chicken podcast, we should take some time to meet the Zoroastrians. But you're talking about a very particular part of their ancient worldview.
I am. We're going to talk about their afterlife, how they envisioned things going after you done died. Because there ain't a single religion out there that believes you just stop, because that would be ridiculous.
Well, okay, I'm going to take exception with that, because we explored that a little bit with the JWs. There is a category for some people who just never really believe or never get the word. They just stop.
Right, but the good folks go on.
Of course.
I think the point to all the religions, and this may be even the main point to all the religions, is that no matter what happens, I'm going to live forever. I don't know what happens to the rest of you bitches, and probably
I'm going to learn how to
fly
high.
Jesus Christ!
Why is that? What is that? That's a Zoroastrian scripture.
Yes.
Yeah, sure, but it comes from Zoroastrian scripture. Go on.
It's a direct quote from the whatever. I don't even have at
Book
my
of
fingertips
Xerxes.
what their scriptures are called. They're somewhere. I've got some of their scriptures here, but I don't have.
Nobody
what
knows.
called.
Nobody knows. Go on.
It's not a thing that anyone can do. All right, so a Zoroastrian dies, and when he or she dies, they I was going to say they go to this bridge. They don't quite go to the bridge just yet. Good people, there's a 3-day waiting period. What's that?
Yeah. Do they say take me to the bridge? I'm just in a very musical mood tonight. I don't know what's going on.
You really are.
All right.
You're having a lot of fun.
It's Canada. It's Canada. It's the soul.
It's all there is to do.
Yeah.
So we here's what you do. You die, and then you chill for 3 days. Now, good people, if they for 3 days and nights, the soul, quote, sits beside the pillow of the body. So that's nice.
Oh, that's interesting. The pillow of the body. Okay. The soul was resting in its life in the pillow of the body. Is that the idea?
Sure.
Here?
Why not? Why not?
All right.
And on the 4th day at dawn, so bright and early. Set your alarm. You are accompanied by the blessed Sarosh, the good Ve, and the mighty Varam, and then you're, of course, opposed by the Atzivat, the demon of death, and the evil Ve, and the demon for...
That's the worst one of all.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't want to get to know that one. And then anyway, here's what you're going to do. You're going to make your way to the lofty and awful Bridge of the Requitor, a.k.a.
Wait.
the Chinvat Bridge.
The lofty and awful?
Apparently.
Is that what are those your words?
No. That's scripture right there.
The lofty and awful. That's pretty awesome.
I
love that.
And we'll get to it. Because it is it's a good solid bridge, but it may not be good for you. It depends on what your life was like.
That's the description of the Airbnb I'm staying in here. So it was just struck a chord. It struck a chord with me. So
lofty
go on.
and awful, or loftal, loftal. Okay, I'm stuck. Let's keep going. The bridge, when you get there, is guarded by two four-eyed dogs, which is actually related to the myth of Yama, the Hindu ruler of hell, who watches the gates of hell with his two four-eyed dogs. So we've got synchronicity here. It has to be true.
Of course, the Greeks had their Cerberus, which the three-headed hound that guarded hell with Hades.
Right, he's 6 eyes. That's too many eyes.
Yeah. Yes, there's a lot of dog stuff going on here, so we're gonna drill into that later.
Yeah, eventually we'll sort that out. Anyway, you've got to your bridge, and as you start to cross, here's the thing: if you're a good person, this bridge works differently than if you're a shit person. If you're a good person, as you start to cross the bridge, it gets nice and wide, and you're able to make it across eventually, no problem. Except that you will be met in the middle by a very pretty little girl, apparently, who is all of your good deeds. And this nice, the prettiest little girl you've ever seen in your life. Literally,
right.
You can't imagine the form of this young girl, more beautiful and fair than any girl on earth. And the soul of the saved says, "Who art thou? For I have never seen a young girl on earth more beautiful or fair than thee." And she says, "I am no girl, but thine own good deeds, O young man whose thoughts, words, deeds, and religion were good." Anyway.
That's like the girl that has no name, right? From your Game of Thrones.
Ooh, yeah. A girl. Yes, exactly. And then she takes off her face, and it's an old man.
And Moida.
And Moida.
That's pretty cool. That's a really cool idea to see your own behaviors reflected back to you as a different personage.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, you go and since you were so good and you get to meet this pretty little girl, then you're guided back all the way across the rest of the bridge, and you get to go to the House of Song, which is basically heaven. It's apparently very musical. All of your interruptions earlier are totally on point because it's all.
How about that, Dan? How about that?
It's all Kenny Rogers for the rest
Kenny
of eternity.
Rogers Zoroaster now?
And they get to meet their big god, who is Ahura Mazda, which I'm pretty sure is the car driven by the black lady in Star Trek, right?
That's how Nichelle Nichols got to work in Hollywood. Yeah, is in her Mazda. Exactly. Yeah. Right. We're cracking this thing wide open.
I think we've got it pretty much sorted.
Yeah.
Now, if your deeds on Earth don't comprise the prettiest girl of all time,
See, I'm really worried about the girl I'm going to meet on that bridge, Dan.
And well, you should be. She is a terror. As you yourself, Uncle Mark. I almost called you Uncle Doug. Where is Uncle Doug?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't.
Where is that mother? Anyway, as you, Uncle Mark, cross the bridge, you will be met with the ugliest girl you've ever seen in your life. She will be hideous and terrifying.
Yes.
Of course, obviously.
And she'll have a rich mustache.
The finest of body hair. And you will, and of course, you will be confronted by all of your misdeeds in life. At which point, as you continue to cross the bridge, it will get narrower and narrower and kind of turn on its side, and you will fall off eventually.
Can I tell you? I can't tell you how many times I've had that dream. So clearly, I have envisioned all this before, because that is most of my dreams are walking on something that starts tilting and I fall off, or just the passage out of a place gets to be a smaller and smaller thing, like I'm in a tunnel in Nam. Yeah, so good. This is how it's going to end for me. Great.
So either we've figured out the correct religion for you is Zoroastrianism, or perhaps Zoroaster was playing off of what might be like psychological archetypes that are very, very common. One or the other. I think it's the first one.
I sure hope it's the latter, because I want to make it across the bridge to all that chicken. But do go on.
Anyway, as you walk across the bridge, it turns on its side, becomes narrow like a razor, and you fall off as the hideous woman appears to torment you, and you go you fall into the house of lies. Now, the House of Lies is something straight out of... It's literally just this nightmarish place. You have to eat rotten food.
Bad chicken.
And despite... Yeah, exactly. No chicken. You have to eat...
Oh, no.
Kenny Rogers brisket or something.
You are forever stuck eating lesser owls.
It's so true. It's the worst. You even though you're in a crowd of people, you feel very isolated. So that sucks.
That's just like life. Go on.
Yeah, exactly.
So far, I'm not afraid of this place.
No, and it's I think you have to listen to a lot of Kenny Rogers' early works back when he was still doing like that psychedelic shit, and he hadn't really found his groove yet. So
before he took up competitive bass fishing, and that's true, he did, and I think people should know that. I think more people should know that. So
I think you and I need to. Apparently, we have a Kenny Rogers fan pod that's going to be coming out. We'll have an announcement for you next week.
We need to have a Kenny Rogers fact off over rotisserie chicken on the air. It's happening.
On the air, that's right.
That's a patron goal.
I'll tell you all about Andrea and my favorite slot machine, which is the Kenny Rogers The Gambler, which, if you can find it, it's delightful. Anyway.
In Wendover, I imagine. Wendover, Nevada. Beautiful Wendover, Nevada, folks. If you haven't had a chance to go there, that is probably very, very close to Zoroastrian hell. So anyway.
Yes, indeed. So let's get back to that, by the way. Once you've spent some amount of time, and it's unclear what amount of time it is that you're spending in Wendover after you've tipped off the bridge, you do end up going eventually, presumably after you've atoned for not knowing your Kenny Rogers the way you should have. Right. You eventually get granted entry into the House of Song, and you get to live in the good place forever.
Oh, so it's the House of Lies, which I think was did 3 seasons on ABC about 4 years back, right? Was about women lawyers. I think that's what it was. Sexy women lawyers. So the House of Lies is kind of a purgatory.
Yeah.
Is that it? It just kind of burns off. It burns off the sins and the fat.
Yeah, exactly. You need to work off the bullshit of your life. And then eventually, you get a Mazda of your own that you get to drive to the House of Song.
Couldn't it at least be a Pontiac? It has to be a Mazda.
No, Mazda's the one you want.
Is it?
Well, considering that's your god. That's
I guess we work in the medium we have, and
sure.
Well, that's there's nice kind of narratives in that heaven. I like the kind of the visual structure of their story. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's not the dumbest.
No, at least everybody ends up okay eventually. Like, at least it's not one of those, because there's, frankly, and we've talked about this, the thought that anyone could be sentenced to eternal damnation is literally the worst idea that any religion has ever come up with, and a whole bunch of them ran with it.
Right, and also, I want to get back to the House of Song in a second, but the idea that we are in our daily lives, certainly in the United States, definitely in other communities in the world, but we're surrounded by normally nice people who have driver's licenses and jobs and children who, upon meeting you and realizing that you believe something very slightly different than what they do, are fine with thinking, well, I'm sorry that you are going to spend forever on fire. Right?
Right,
That's
exactly.
Crazy.
Kind of sucks that you are not going to like. I will be eating Kenny Rogers for the rest of my life. Not the man, but the chicken. It's too bad about you and all the eternal torture.
Wow, that's his fate, as he will be roasted forever and consumed by people pulling off of I-15 for a quick snack. So
that guy needs to repent of all of his sins, because it's too easy to torture him.
If you saw The Gambler Part 2 TV movie, you know he needs to spend eternity on a spit. So this is all coming together really beautifully, because I didn't know about the House of Song. Right. And I didn't know why I had such a musical tickle up my butt at the beginning of this. But who is the most famous Zoroastrian that any of us may know?
That is a very interesting point that you're making, because it is one Mr. Freddie S. Mercury, Esquire.
Saint fucking Freddie Mercury is.
Isn't that amazing?
Super interesting. And apparently he had kind of, someone may correct me, but as I remember a couple documentaries about him and reading a bit about him, he kind of had a connection to the faith throughout his whole life, even though, he was gay and was this massive rock star and kind of lived a very hedonistic life. And I don't know if they forbid it, but that he had a Zoroastrian funeral, that his family gave him a Zoroastrian funeral. So
interesting.
The House of Song is fucking rockin'.
Right? Yeah. It got way more interesting. Although, probably, who knows if he's there yet? Let's face it, that man tipped off the bridge. That man.
I don't know. I bet he met some really hot young guy in the middle of the bridge, and the kid was like, "Yeah, it's cool. Come on." That's what
I'm waving you through.
Yeah, that's how I want to see Freddie Mercury singing into a drumstick for the rest of eternity. So
okay,
that's beautiful.
Well, now that we've come up with Uncle Mark's conception of actual heaven, let's move on.
Let's move on.
Well, dear Uncle Mark.
Yes, my dearest Uncle Dan.
Here we are. We like to have discussions. Here's what we like to do on this show. We like to talk about things that people believe out in the world.
Yeah.
Or did believe, or have believed, or do.
Yeah.
Because most of our listeners, and you and I definitely, used to believe things that were so outlandishly crazy, and we were positive that they were true.
We were beyond positive. We wanted them to be true.
Oh yeah. That's the real shtick of it, isn't it?
And oftentimes we would, and we'll get to this, we would stand in front of our communities and swear on all that was holy that they were true.
Yeah, we were. You and I, we belonged in the religion of stand up and
testify.
Just bear your testimony. Oh my God, it's so bad.
So yeah, this is a very one, I think, even among post. This is a sacred cow. That's not that sacred, but it used to be, and now it's a little bit more of an embarrassment to official Mormonism than anything else. But I think even for a lot of post-Mormons, we're a little bit fond of this particular thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about some old friends that are in the Book of Mormon and maybe in your neighborhood right now. And that is the 3 Nephites.
Oh, my God. Yeah. So we may have to start with a definition of terms, because what is a Nephite?
Well, I have a little preamble for this because our large body of Mormon listeners will already be giggling and know what this is, but a lot of other people are going to be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" So, here's a description of who the Nephites are and how we're going to get into this story. So, this is from 3rd Nephi chapter 28 in the Book of Mormon. And I read it directly from a Book of Mormon because my buddy's staying in a Marriott here and he stole it for me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. It's in the drawer underneath the porn remote. So in third Nephi chapter 28, we meet the 3 Nephites. But who are the Nephites? So this is a story about that these 3 were part of the New World version of the 12 Apostles, because Joseph Smith was a lazy fucking writer who could not plagiarize all the everythings. So just to catch our Never Mormon listeners up, the Book of Mormon is about Jesus visiting the fine people of the Americas thousands of years ago. Who were these people? They were Jews, of course, and they had come to America in wooden submarines with corks in the bottom and no propulsion systems, because obviously. And then Jesus came to see them and remind them to be good Jews. And then he voiped up to his cloud palace.
Right.
Soon, many of those Jews forgot to do all the good things, and they turned brown, Dan. As you remember,
as
their
will
skin
happen.
turned brown.
I mean, I think if there's one thing we know from history and from genetics, if you're naughty, then you turn different pigments.
It's a tale as old as time. So they turned brown because of a curse from God, and they were called the Lamanites. But some Jews remembered all about the blood of the lamb on the Passover and the dietary laws of Leviticus, which is don't eat owls and weasels, which we covered pretty extensively in episode 9.
Sure.
And they remained white-ish. And these were called the Nephites. So I think that gets us up to speed pretty quickly here. So,
yeah, I think some might be confused by the notion that a group of people from the Middle East, the good ones would be white, considering they are Middle Eastern and thereby brown.
Yeah. Well, and they're also delightsome, Dan, which is a real term in the Book of Mormon for people who are righteous that are white and delightsome. So
white and delightsome. Well, no, it's not anymore. You won't find that phrase in the Book of Mormon anymore. It was only in the Book of Mormon for the first 110 years or 20 years or something.
You'll find it in collector's editions very clearly. So,
right.
So Jesus was getting ready to fly off to heaven, and he wanted to give all of his Mayan apostles parting gifts. So 9 of them asked for VIP entry into heaven and, for sweet digs once they arrived at the end of their lives.
Sure. Which,
in a bizarrely cruel moment of superpower abuse, Jesus revealed to them would be 72 years. Just decided you're all going to live to be 72 years old, then you're going to die. But you're going to have eternal bottle service. You're hooked up. You're good to go.
Right.
So then he turned to these other 3 guys, and they were a little bashful about the scale of their wish. Let's go to the Book of Mormon and see exactly what that says about this particular wish.
Yes, please.
And it says, "And when he had spoken unto them, he turned himself unto the 3. What will ye that I should do unto you when I am gone unto the Father? And they sorrowed in their hearts, for they durst not speak unto the thing which they desired. And
which
he
was
said
anal.
unto them, they wanted butt stuff." And so they, look, if you want butt stuff and you can't get it and end up with eternal life,
yeah. I mean,
same.
6 of one.
Yeah, same.
Half an eternity of another.
So he said unto them, "Behold, I know your thoughts, and ye have desired the thing which John my beloved, who was with me in my ministry before I was lifted up by the Jews, desired of me." Okay, couple flags on this play here, Dan. So
you just
John
used
the
a
beloved,
sport.
Yeah, I sport. Well, I'm watching the World Cup because there's many, many handsome men's, and there's flags. It's all good. Cards, people, shorts. Anyway, John the Beloved was the youngest of Jesus' disciples when Jesus was an old school Jew back in Jerusalem. And so John was the brother of James, the disciple. He was the youngest disciple, they think. And a lot of Christian denominations think that he was actually the author of many of the New Testament books. because they want to connect the New Testament books directly to Jesus, but there's no proof of any of that, or that any of the books written in the Bible were by anybody who had first-person knowledge of the itinerant preacher Joshua. But, of course, Mormons, for some reason, have a further theory, I don't know why, about John the Beloved, that Jesus granted him immortality, and that it was John himself, along with St. Peter, yes, the very same St. Peter who guards the gates of heaven, and St. James, who appeared to Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery in the 1830s and handed over all the magic powers of Jesus' church to them.
Yeah.
So the second flag on the play, which is a more problematic flag, Dan, is, you know how it was really the Romans and their local magistrates that executed people by crucifixion?
Sure.
And how Christians invented this idea of the Romans letting one guy go in celebration of the Passover. So ipso facto, it was really the Jews who killed Jesus by failing to use the get out of free jail card to let him go.
You got to admit, it's a good plan.
Yeah, it's a super good plan. It's a good, it's lazy writing, but it's a good plan. and how even the Catholics have backed away from this smear in their Easter services, which used to be a big part of their Easter services. The Jews killed Christ.
Right.
And how that little historical invention has led to hundreds of years of anti-Semitism. Well,
by hundreds, do you mean thousands?
I think we're pushing thousands at this point. Well, before that, I was lifted up by the Jews, meaning pushed up on a cross I was nailed to.
Right.
It's drinking from exactly the same poison cup of hatred of the Jews. Interestingly, when I was researching this thing, a Mormon webpage that had a study guide, an official Mormon webpage that had a study guide to help smooth out the three Nephites story, conveniently left the word Jews out of the scripture.
Oh, wow.
Thought that was a little strange.
That's cute.
So back to the story.
Sure.
Jesus continues, "Therefore more blessed are ye, for ye shall never taste of death, but shall live to see all the doings of the Father to the children of men, even until all things shall be And anyway, so he basically says, when I am resurrected, in the twinkling of an eye, you will go from mortality to immortality, and then ye shall be blessed in the kingdom of my Father." So I have a timeline problem here, which is...
That's your problem? I think there's a lot. Okay, we'll start with the timeline problem.
Look, we're going to go one word at a time through this thing. So the timeline issue is this. So this is in, I don't know, when was this supposed to take place? Right at the 30 AD or something?
Right, yeah.
Right.
Zero.
So he's in 30 AD, he's offering these three guys immortality. But he says they're going to get immortality at his so far unscheduled second coming.
The resurrection.
Right, the resurrection. No, when he comes back from heaven in all his glory.
Oh, okay.
So how... okay, it's now June 2018.
Yeah.
They're apparently still here, and as far as I know, Jesus hasn't come, so this is I mean, this is what an editor is for, right?
No, that's the whole fun of it. They're around.
Right. But that's it. But that's immortality, which they're not supposed to get till he comes back.
Well, I mean, they get the proper
is the answer to that, right?
I mean, don't think about things. That's half of the problem here.
Hush your mouth now.
I just love it. I love that these guys. So these guys, the theory that we got here is that these three guys wouldn't say what they wanted. Jesus goes, "Oh fuck, I know what you guys want." He says,
"Read their minds.
You get to live literally on the earth forever."
Yeah.
Until I come back.
Yes.
And according to Mormonism, that's what they're still doing.
That's what they're still doing. So it gets, the timeline problem is, as you kind of alluded to, not the biggest problem of the story, but it baffles me. So it goes on, and like Joseph tended to do, he generally says the same thing three times in three slightly different ways. Like, it'd been years since I read Book of Mormon passages at any length, and oh my God, it's just dreadful.
Chloroform in print.
Exactly, Mr. Twain. So after a few more verses, it comes to the three of them suddenly being sucked up into heaven, and I quote, they were caught up into heaven and saw and heard unspeakable things.
Oh.
Yes. So that's the anal we were talking about.
Right. Yeah. They got to do it finally.
Yeah, it's the old joke, death by bunga bunga, but it's forever. So, and I continue. And it was forbidden them that they should utter, semicolon, for some reason. Neither was it given to them the power that they could utter the things which they saw and heard, which you mentioned previously. And whether they were in body or out of the body, they could not tell, for it did seem unto them like a transfiguration of them, blah, 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 blah.
So they did ayahuasca then?
Yeah, totally. He dosed him.
He fucking dosed him, yeah.
He turned water to wine, and then he turned wine to Rufinol. So classic Jesus. So, every magician just goes back to their old bag of tricks, right?
Sure.
At some point, it's the same old hackneyed show. It doesn't matter what continent you're on and what century. So these guys come back to Earth, and for some reason they keep amazingly mum about the three-tiered Mormon heaven they saw that we discussed in episode 8, or perhaps their visit or beyond to the planet Kolob, as we discussed in episode 18, and just did their thing as they continue to till this day.
Yeah.
However, Dan, before that, in the intermediate time, they were under constant assault and attack from the duskier neighborhoods of the greater Zarahemlin metropolitan area. Tell me if any of this sounds a little bit familiar. They were put in prisons that were rent in twain by the power of God. They were cast into the earth. And this is amazing silliness. They were cast into the earth, which I guess would be caves, or in Central America, maybe cenotes.
Or a canyon, maybe?
Maybe a canyon. And that to escape, they smote the earth with the word of God and escaped, which to me means, okay, you're in a hole, and you smote it to make it a deeper hole. So good job.
I figure they hit the ground so hard that they themselves popped straight up out of the ground.
That's probably it.
It's like Captain Caveman. Didn't he have a big club that he could make him fly? I don't know.
Cartoons were verboten in my house as a kid, Dan. So that was a luxury that you had down the street from me. But
what were you, a Seventh-day Adventist? I'm trying to come up with who's more oppressive than Mormonism.
Just shitty Mormon parents. That's all.
Yeah.
So so yeah, you'd think Joseph Smith, who was a guy who spent his entire life digging holes for himself, would know how holes worked. But I digress. So now we get to where Joseph is cribbing so directly from the book of Daniel, because he's running out of ideas on how to make these 3 Mayan farmers awesome, right? So they are cast into a furnace. But unlike Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the 3 Nephites were cast in not once but thrice, and yet they emerged unblemished. So what do you think the next test for our heroes would be, Dan, if you can detect a pattern?
I feel like they should. Okay. They're going to be swallowed by a whale.
Warm.
And then they're going to be. I don't know. I don't remember all the things.
The beasts. They're cast into dens of wild beasts.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, right, and twice, but only twice this time, and are seen later to be playing with them as if they were puppies and kittens. So,
and it just says beasts.
Yeah, it just says wild beasts. So it could be anything.
You know what?
It could be an iguana.
Here's where I'm going to give Joe Smith some credit. He probably had a moment where he was like, and they were cast in with beasts. With beasts. I don't know if they're lions. It's the one.
What great cat do we have in the Americas? I can't. I don't know. Because I'm an idiot. I don't know.
It was the one moment where he was a little circumspect about possible anachronism.
Yeah, he held back, which is, again, you're right. It's the one moment in this thing. So before we get into the appearances of the 3 Nephites in the modern world, there is kind of a hilarious little coda in the book, in the chapter 28, which is the whole story. The Book of Mormon is written by the eponymous author of the free book at the Marriott Hotels, Mormon. And he says he was about to write down the 3 names of these dudes when, and I quote, "Behold, I was about to write down the names of those who were never to taste death, but the Lord forbade. Therefore, I write them not, for they are hid from the world. So you see, Dan, a God who really exists and desperately needs you to believe in him, or you can just be on fire forever, also bafflingly makes sure there is zero evidence for his existence at all.
Right.
When he clearly could have left it just lying all over the place.
Don't go out looking for Bob, Louie, and Steve. You won't find them.
Louie. I like their Seymour Nephite. Oh, that's like a dirty joke.
He was the one that went up to heaven and saw all the stuff.
It was unspeakable.
Unspeakable
So
stuff.
before we continue, Dan, by this count, how many immortals wander the earth because Jesus can cure death on a whim?
3, 4?
All right. So now, before I tell you the real number, we know this is not actually canon because according to the Highlander, there can be only one. And if that's the first time you've seen the 1986 Russell Mulcahy sci-fi hit about an immortal Scotsman used to shatter the truth claims of the Book of Mormon, it will not be the last. So, if you forgot that the second man on earth, Cain, of Cain and Abel fame, was cursed to wander the earth in the form of, Dan?
An eagle.
Bigfoot. That brings us to 5 immortal beings. Now, we nearly have an Avengers franchise here with even a sort of Hulk, but we're going to talk about the Mormon Hulk another time because that one's really good too. So, okay, here's why all this is important to us in the modern world today.
Sure.
Maybe God didn't hide all the evidence of these 3 guys after all, Dan.
What?
So I'll explain that when you and I were beardless boys, we would sit in church for a boring eternity every Sunday, right?
Yeah.
But every 4th Sunday, or 1st, depending on how you look at it, something truly magical happened. Mormons who had done the unthinkable and skipped 1 or as many as maybe 2 meals were then allowed to stand up and grab a mic in a silent chapel full of all their neighbors and all their neighbors' families and, through heaving tears, tell us stories of the miraculous. Stories that did indeed, Dan, prove that 3 or more immortal beings walked among us.
Sure.
And what I'm referring to, you remember it well, I'm sure, is Fast and Testimony Meeting. It's an alternately dreadful and hilarious open mic event the first Sunday of every month in Mormon country. And Mormons, usually teach out of very, very strictly regulated lesson manuals and are expected to stick to those in all cases, except on this one day of the month.
It's amazing.
If you thought Dylan going electric was crazy, sit in on a Mormon ward on the first Sunday of the month. So, and I'll bet you heard a ton of these, but in my ward in urban Salt Lake City, 3 Nephite sightings were 9 times out of 10 in and around automotive emergencies.
Right. Yes, that is kind of their exclusive sighting
bailiwick
place.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for some reason, in my ward especially, for some reason this only happened between like Lake Powell in southeastern Utah and say Santa Quin, which odd aside is the town where Gary Coleman died. But it's always in these remote places and always away from a lot of prying eyes. So a typical story, in my experience, would have a mother with a car full of kids on the side of the road, and she gets a flat tire maybe 30 miles outside of Panguitch and still too far from Scipio to expect some help. So as she's struggling with the tire, a man appears and offers to help. He fixes the tire, she offers him a ride, and he refuses, walking off into the sagebrush. Probably sounds familiar to you, Dan. Or,
sure. I watched Kung Fu, so I know that this happens.
What was the Michael Landon one? Because it was basically that, right?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Highway to Heaven. Highway to Heaven.
Okay, good. Because I was coming up with Touched by an Angel, and I knew that was wrong.
Well, they're basically the same premise.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a international, supernatural intervention comes along and fixes your fucking tire or your souffle.
Woohoo!
So another example is a rancher gets his pickup stuck in the mud down in BLM land down to Tabiona, and it's getting dark, and he worries he won't make it through the night if he's stuck there. And then a man appears and kindly offers to help push him out, and together they free the truck. But when the grateful rancher goes to offer the stranger a ride, he's gone.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then I heard many times a version of a non-automotive version of the story, which is like, the harried mother alone with her kids in the grocery store, and maybe she's over to Richfield and finds herself at the checkout, and maybe she's $14 short, and a stranger appears and covers the remaining bill before she can thank him. He's gone. And so that was just from like my experience, and I was poking around online, and there's a lot of hilarious stuff.
Oh my gosh.
I found one that was so crazy, and then I realized it was a parody site. I was like, oh, damn it.
Well, Poe's law strikes again.
It was so bananas. It claimed that like one of the three Nephites was the Pope, but gave it up because he hated being a Catholic. And I was praying it was true. I was asking for a burning in the bosom. But so this story never came up in my ward, but there's a couple versions of it online. And it's been told in several places, I guess. So the story is missionaries, and of course it's often sister missionaries, knock on a door and are let in. And there's an odd man that seems distracted and uninterested in the soul-saving power of their message. So he kind of shoos them off. Now, it turns out later the man is a serial killer. And when asked by whomever, I don't know, why he didn't kill the chaste young women, he says he was afraid of the three huge warriors standing behind them. Sure. Okay.
Wow.
So... And honestly, that's been told in like several ward houses, I guess. So
wow, the Mormon Apocrypha is getting fun.
It's crazy. So, Dan, I find it an odd use of immortality, fixing flats and dropping $20 so a mom can buy a few cases of Hamburger Helper in flyover country.
Right.
And it's nice, but when you're basically Wolverine with additional telepathy and invisibility powers, topping off an old lady's antifreeze seems a little bit like Superman using his awesome powers to stop accidents on model train sets all day. It's
right. It is
sort of a waste.
Although these guys are just dudes, right? Like we don't know of them having, other than the ability to sort of say the name of God and get out of holes, do we know of them having any actual powers? Or are they just dudes?
I mean, there are some stories where, a guy was a lumberjack, had a heart attack in the forest, and then he woke up not in a hospital, but by the side of the road. So, like, I guess their superpower is they're real sneaky and above average strength, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just figure they, okay, so obviously they must be able to heal. Although, wouldn't it be great if one of them, like, has just been in a bubbling volcano for 300 years and doesn't know how to get out?
He's in quicksand.
He's just exactly. Just like, fuck.
I can't die.
I don't know
how to get out.
How do I do this?
Yeah, I haven't come across the fanfic of the stuck Nephite yet, or the one that's just been in an elevator for 45 years in a condemned building. But
well, now wait a minute. I think we may have hit on something here because if they've spent literally 2,000 years on this earth, the one thing I think they'd be really good at by now is getting unstuck from things. So therefore, their superpower is changing tires or getting out of jams. These guys are like, that's their expertise.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically the Pep Boys, right? They're just kind of immortals wandering state highways in central Utah, pushing people out of snowbanks. And it's cool, but again, kind of a waste. And here's the thing about it it's hilarious, and it's kind of sweet in a way, because it certainly, when I was growing up, it was much, much older folks that had these stories.
Right.
But it's also really, like a lot of things in Mormonism, it's just kind of dickish, because some decent person probably changed your tire. Right. Some guy gave you $20 at the grocery store so you could get your food. And it's kind of taking a shit on decent people. It's like, nope, it was clearly an immortal Mayan peasant. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah. So rude.
So it is rather rude. It's kind of shitty. So that's the three Nephites, folks. So, once you hit the Utah line, take heart. If you're a little low on fuel, or you get, one of the stories in my ward was this guy was obsessed with vapor lock, and somehow the three Nephites got him out of some Vapor Lock pickles on his Suburban. So
Oh,
I don't know what
that's
that
so
is,
sweet of
but if
them.
you get it, they might help you out. And the kind of last funny thing about them is they are doctrinal. They are in the Book of Mormon, but
Yeah.
official Mormonism would just like for this to go away.
Well, duh.
Right.
Yeah, it's an albatross. They have a few of those.
They have the sky above Temple Square is darkened with albatross these days. So, so that we thought we'd share and make sure that albatross stays aloft just a little while longer
Yes,
for our Mormon
indeed.
friends. So that's the three Nephites, folks, and let's move on.
Moving on. So, Uncle Mark,
I'm present and accounted for. Thank you.
yeah, finish your drink, and then we'll talk a little bit about the best people that we can think of.
Who? I was like, I got a joke, and then it just went away. It just
That'll
went away.
happen.
I'm sorry.
That'll happen. We'll just talk about our patrons.
Yeah.
These are people who, in order to gain access to
Yeah.
our show early,
Yeah.
and also in so doing to become friends of the show, patrons,
Yes.
people who make the show go. They have
Comrades.
given us money.
Yes.
They went to howtoheretic.com. They clicked on the Patreon button, and they signed up. And so they have become some of the most amazing people that exist. So thanks go out to Tim, to Angela, to Taylor, and I believe you, sir, need to give a saint
Yes.
to Sam.
Yes, Sam, thank you for all you do and being a fine fellow in the Twitter machine out there where I yell into cyberspace from time to time. So Sam, you are very fortunate. This is kind of one of the greats. And this is Saint Pretty Bird of Twin Falls. As Dan well knows, because Dan is kind of the leading scholar of this particular saint.
It's true.
That Saint Pretty Bird is the patron saint of auctioneers, and even more famously, the final scene in the Never Ending Story Part 2. So, congratulations, Sam. I think that's really wonderful, and you're welcome.
Yeah, good stuff
Yeah.
there. All of our patrons are our best friends in the world, and we want to thank you all so much for everything that you do. If you, ladies and gentlemen, would like to be a part of keeping the show going and eventually maybe even making it better, you can help us out by going to the howtoheretic.com, clicking Patreon, and signing up. We sure do love you.
Yep, and just for $1, you can just a shitty Monday morning with a hangover, riding into work with a bunch of the squares. Hopefully, we can make you laugh out loud and embarrass yourself, and it just costs you $1 a week. So, and if you can't do that, and we still love you, hitting us up with a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever else you can do that is also very helpful, because mostly that just spreads the word to more of the people of Earth, and we appreciate that as well.
Yep. All right, let's move on.
Yeah. Dan,
Yeah.
there has been sin.
In the world?
I think that perhaps, Uncle Dan, you may have sinned, and
Well,
I think sometimes it's important that we talk about when we're calling onto the carpets of the world so many of the world's great institutional sinners. Perhaps we should talk about our sins from time to time.
From time to time, sure. Although, here's what I got to say. I'm less interested in sin, considering I don't believe in the concept, really. I'm much more interested in, as opposed to sin, I'm interested in the idea of, how do I want to say it? Of just sort of confession in general.
Yes,
So-
well, first of all, as a left-handed person, sin is derived from sinistris, which means left-handed. So
That's true.
I could either like it or hate it based on that. But I agree with you. I don't believe in the concept of sin. I believe in the concept of being a shitty person to people,
Sure.
and that maybe like in any of the variety of 12-step programs you and I are in, there comes a time when you try to make amends or just admit to or confess to such shitty behavior.
Yeah, and I think fessing up is a good thing. And so I just, what we're going to do is we're going to be telling some stories about our days as believers. This is Uncle Embarrassment here that we're going to delve into. And it is funny to know what, to think about what we have done in the name of our former beliefs. And to sort of reflect on our own stupidity and assholishness.
Right.
So I've brought with me a few of my stories. Hopefully you have some stories that you can share as well. And we'll see how this goes. We may never do this again.
I'll see how much I want to expose myself at this point, but I'll follow your lead.
Okay. Well, I am going to talk about a time. Oh, this one's rough for me. But I love it because it's very telling of what religion did to my teenage little brain.
Okay. Oh God.
So I had a friend who was very, here's the thing. I was a teenager, and teenagers are very dramatic people. I was an actor, so drama was just sort of everywhere anyway. Yes. And I'm in school. I've got a friend who I knew through theater, and she came to me one day in school and looked at me very seriously and started telling me about how depressed she was and suicidal thoughts that were happening.
Oh dear.
Now, I was not trained for how to deal with a suicidal friend and had no idea how to respond to that.
Now, this would have been 1990...
22. 1922.
19 and 22. Indeed. That President Coolidge was up to no good. 1920.
This
would have been...
This was the 90s.
Early 90s.
Early 90s.
Okay.
And this was a young lady who was prone to melodrama, and I didn't know what to do. So she starts talking, and then she starts getting really weird about it, and going a little overboard on the drama.
Yeah.
And I suddenly realized I knew what to do.
Oh no! Oh no! Please don't tell me you did what I think you did.
I did exactly what you think I did, which was to say that knowing that I was a bearer of the priesthood of Jesus Christ.
You gave her a blessing.
I didn't give her a blessing because I didn't have Melchizedek priesthood. I didn't have that much. I cast a demon out of her, which is something it wasn't a demon. I don't know what I did. I rebuked the devil. None of this is actually Mormon stuff. So I didn't know what to do. But I did say something along the lines of, in the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to be well, or something like crazy like that.
Oh no.
Which is very unusual for Mormons. Mormons, as we've discussed before, are very passive people. They are not overt humans, so usually you go home and you pray for them in the comfort and safety of your own home and hope that prayer sort of carries over.
Right.
But I was a drama boy, so I tried to heal her demonicness or whatever right to her face.
Oh no.
The result of which being both of us standing awkwardly for an inordinate amount of time. She just stared at me and I stared at her, and neither of us knew what to do after that little fiasco. And the end. Really. After that, I don't think she came to me anymore for any kind of emotional support, which maybe that's a blessing. Maybe I did it. Maybe what I did was I cast her emotional neediness out of my life in the name of Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. And how did that work out? I mean, she killed herself, right?
Obviously, she's dead now. That's clear. No, she never killed herself that I know of.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think we were friends for very much after that. It just was too fucking weird.
Remind me how old you were again?
It's like 17, 16, I don't know.
Oh my God. Was much too old to think that was real.
Oh my God. Except not, because grown people do this every day.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
You know, I was experimenting. You know, you try different things. I tried marijuana once when I was a kid. I tried beer, and I tried.
You tried the jazz cabbage, and did you go crazy? Did you go crazy? Because there's a movie called Reefer Madness, which is a documentary about how people go mental after they smoke the devil's weed. Now that's pretty terrible, and you weren't being a good friend there, buddy.
No, I was not. I was trying to. I was trying to care. That was the point of what I was doing. Unfortunately, it just wasn't. I wasn't great at it.
No. But you've gotten better. I'm going to tell you. The times I've come to you with suicidal ideation, you've been. I wouldn't call it great. I'd say something like callous, but it certainly hasn't been about superstition. It's just been that you're busy.
Mean, usually I order you a pizza and then leave you to it. I figure that's right. That's the best thing for it, right?
You leave me a pizza and a pistol and say good luck.
Best to you. There's only one bullet. Use it how you will.
Well, that's super shitty, and I'm sorry that, and I'm not only sorry for her, I'm sorry for you. I'm
sorry. Oh my God, I'm so sorry for me, because every time I have to think about that fucking event, it's one of the most horrifying things in my life.
Yeah, and I get it. I think that must make you very sad. Here's the thing: is most of the things that I should confess, and we could probably have a long series of podcasts about them, weren't because I differed from you and Doug in a way, which was I feel like I was the victim of many moments of that rather than the perpetrator of many moments of that, because I never really wanted to be part of it. So
no.
Any of my crimes would have been probably in the pretending to be, pretending to be straight or whatever. So I have much to confess, but I wonder if we ought to say, let's leave it at that one with Dan for tonight.
Yeah, I think maybe we do need to do that. If you're listening out there, friend, whom I what did I do? Exercised? I don't know.
Just you commanded to be well.
Please accept this as my apology, and and we'll leave it at that, I suppose.
Yeah. And I think that's whoever you are. I hope that example Dan set for you made you understand that you really didn't want to hook up or hang out with any Mormon guys ever again. And it was probably a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, let's hope
so. Listen, when Uncle Doug gets back, this is going to get crazy because he was shitty when he was religious. So it's going to get good.
We'll just keep doing it. We'll purge ourselves. We'll all be free of all of our sins.
And I think it would be really interesting to hear from you guys via email or Twitter. Kind of the stupid, awful shit you did that you really regret. I mean, nothing actionable. You don't have an attorney-client privilege here, so right. Just kind of non-criminally shitty. But just I love the stories of how dopey people were when they were religious and how they hurt feelings and caused minor damage without thinking about it and thought they were doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, thank you for confessing. I wish I could absolve you, but I can't.
What? That's why I did this whole thing.
Let's move on.
Fuck. Okay.
Well, friends, that's it for this week's show.
Hey, we'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to send us an email at howtoheretic.com and tell us all about your most embarrassing religious experiences.
That's right. Please let us know, and you can leave us a voicemail about what a dick you were to somebody in their hour of need at 903-88HOW2, which is 903-884-6986. You can yell at me at Twitter at HowToHeretic.
Yeah, thanks again once more to our beloved patrons. We beloved you.
We are your biggest belovers ever. Thanks to our beloved Cody Layton for editing the show.
Yeah, beloved him too. And thank all of you, dear friends, for tuning into this great thing. We sure do appreciate you.
I'll see you on the other side of the bridge, bitches.